Hey guys, Cookie here. In the two factions that Helldivers must face, there is a diverse group of enemy types that we have to overcome, and many of them are a massive pain to deal with. But which one's truly the worst? After some deliberation, I have come up with my list of the top 10 most annoying enemy types in Helldivers 2. I do have a couple of disclaimers about the list. First off, certain enemy types will be grouped together, even though they have different variations, such as the Spewers and the Hulks, while others won't be grouped together like the Devastators, because I feel those units are significantly different enough to warrant a totally different spot on the list. I should also mention that this is based on how the units are right now in the game. Updates would obviously change where I place certain units on this list, so this is simply based on their current state. I also would like to state that just because I'm complaining about enemy annoyance doesn't mean I want all these enemies changed. I like the challenge, but I'm just trying to point out which enemy types annoy me the most. Also, these are just my opinions from my experiences, so feel free to disagree, just try to be civil. Alright, so let's start at number 10 on the list with the Shriekers. When Shriekers were first introduced into the game, they looked like they would be the hardest unit in the game. There were a million of them that would spawn at once out of their nests. Their dive bombing constantly insta-killed you, and their nests seemed impossible to destroy. However, thanks to time and a few updates from the devs, they aren't nearly the menace they were when they were launched, but that doesn't mean they aren't a menace at all. If the Shriekers numbers are between 1 to 5 at a time, they really are no problem, but once those numbers get into the double digits, they are a problem. They are extremely distracting since you have to look up to see them and ignore every enemy on the ground. Their nests are also still very hard to blow up unless you have certain stratagems equipped, like the Quasar cannon, that can blow them up from a safe distance. You can also waste tons of ammo just trying to shoot these things because their bodies are kind of small at a distance in the sky. So they aren't quite the annoying menace they once were, but they are still annoying and not to be taken lightly. We're staying in the air for number 9 with the Automaton gunships. I have a love-hate relationship with these gunships because they're so cool and super satisfying to blow up. However, they can be a massive pain. One gunship can absolutely wreck you if you're in the wrong spot, and if there's more than one, they need to be taken out immediately. Of course, if you forgot to pack a support weapon or it's on a cooldown, you're out of luck and you pretty much just need to run. Like the Shriekers, they can be deleted from the map by blowing up their factory spawn point, but that can almost only be done by dropping the Hell Bomb and hoping you're left alone to let it go off. If you think these things aren't annoying, try going up against more than 2 at a time. You'll be running as far from their factories as possible. At number 8, it's the Bile Titan. I don't always think as the big bulky units as annoying units, since annoying makes me think of something small that just keeps bugging me, but there are times the Bile Titan is extremely annoying, especially when about 5 of them spawn at once. The Bile Titan can take a ton of hits and a group effort is needed to take them down. Their vomit will slow you to a crawl even if it doesn't kill you, and make you an easy meal for the other Terminids. Also, despite its massive size, I've been snuck up on by the Bile Titans many times and die from it when I have my back turned. I don't know if that's just a me thing or not, but yeah, that can be super annoying too. They do have a knack for showing up at the worst possible times, when all stratagems are on a cooldown and all you have are grenades, which won't do anything. Do not face the Bile Titan alone, you will die alone. Coming in at number 7 is the Rocket Devastator. A little over a month ago, this one probably would have been the number 1 pain in the ass unit, but thanks to a nerf of automaton rockets in Helldivers 2, they aren't nearly as bad, but they still can be, well, quite devastating. The rockets don't one-shot you anymore, although in a way, they still can, since they shoot multiple rockets at once. They just have to hit you with more than one. Even if they don't kill you, there's nothing quite like being ragdolled across the map from your teammates and essentially taking you out of the equation. Rocket Devastators also have a lot of range, so it's very common to just randomly get hit by rockets and have no idea where they came from. Like many annoying enemies, Rocket Devastators aren't too bad one at a time, but even as little as 2 of them at once can be a nightmare. Like the Shriekers, they were worse, but are still super annoying. At number 6, I'm going with the Chargers. Like others on this list, the Chargers would probably have been higher if it weren't for updates and additional weapons being added. Unlike the others, the Charger itself hasn't really been nerfed at all. It's just the increased flame damage and addition of the Quasar cannon have made them much easier to deal with. However, the annoyance of these units is still very high. So why are they so annoying? Well, for one, other than maybe one other unit on this list, Chargers spawn more than any other enemy type that I'm going to be talking about today. If you're facing Terminids, you're facing Chargers, and on higher difficulties you'll be facing dozens and dozens of these bouldering monsters. Even with the updates I mentioned earlier, the Chargers are still very hard to kill. They can take a massive amount of hits, and even their weak spots aren't that weak. In most video games with units like Chargers, they would go in a straight line once they start charging, but in this game the Chargers charger adapts to you, so simply moving out of the way isn't enough and you have to time your dive perfectly or else you'll be obliterated. Chargers also can't be easily outrun, and you better keep an eye behind you if the ground starts rumbling. There's also an issue in the game currently where if a charger is hit by a friend while it is chasing you, it will just stop abruptly and power slide into you, which still does max damage. Also, chargers can spawn to 5 or more at one time, which is just ridiculous because you have no time to try to kill one before another one is on you. So chargers will probably always have a spot on this list. And now starting off the top half of this list with spewers. Luckily, spewers don't spawn on every planet because they are so annoying. These giant fat pillbugs have two different variations, the nursing spewer and the bile spewer. The bile spewer is green and more heavily armored but also weaker in health and has a mortar ability, while the nursing spewer has more health but less heavily armored, and apparently the nursing spewer has more toxic puke than the bile spewer, but frankly they both can easily one-shot you with it. The last two units I mentioned, the Charger and the Rocket Devastator, both can hit you with devastating amounts of damage, but they don't one-shot you with just one hit. However, for the spewers, it's simply puke and dead. Supposedly in a recent update this got nerfed, but I haven't experienced that nerf very much. They're still as deadly as ever. Spewers make very little noise too, so they can easily sneak up behind you and melt you alive. And when there's up to 5 of them at once, just forget it. You have no hope. Oh, and like I mentioned, the biles also shoot mortars, which are hard to get rid of because once you get close, they leave mortar mode and enter puke mode again. These things are so damn annoying. The final 4 of annoying enemy types starts with the Hunters. From what I've seen on the Helldivers Reddit, my guess is that this is what most players think is the most annoying unit, so putting them this low might be kinda controversial, but don't let that distract you from the fact that they are such a menace. When trying to run away from a horde of bugs, these little bastards will jump out from the pack and stun lock you for a second as you try to get away, and that's just if one hits you. Many times there are 3 or 4 jumping at the same time that will get you and slow you down. Not to mention their hits also hurt enough to take out a good chunk of your health. You better hope you can get your stims off in time. Hunters also hunt in packs most of the time, and I've seen patrols with 20 to 30 hunters in it at one time on higher difficulties. So I'd highly recommend having the guard dog rover with you, otherwise you're going to get destroyed. Back to the automatons with number 3, it's the Heavy Devastator. These guys can be so hard to deal with. There's 2 things that are annoying about the Heavy Devastator. Their shields, which repel most attacks, but if you shoot around it, you should be fine, so that doesn't bother me as much as the second reason, their freaking gun. The Heavy Devastator will shoot that gun endlessly and very, very accurately, not to mention with a good bit of range. This gun hits very hard and is almost impossible to get away or get a stim in because it stuns you with every hit. Most automatons take a break in their shooting to reload or cool down. Not the Heavy Devastator. That minigun has infinite ammo and will keep shooting until you're dead. Basically, if you don't see the Heavy Devastator before it sees you, you're probably doomed. More than one? Well, you might as well just accept your fate. And number 2 is the most annoying automaton unit, the Hulk. Remember when I said that I don't necessarily want all these enemies changed just because they're annoying? The Hulk is the exception. This unit definitely needs changed. Like the spewers, there are multiple different Hulks, including the Obliterator and the Bruiser. These 2 forms are definitely annoying, but they aren't just straight up broken. However, the third variation, the Scorcher Hulk, is totally busted. The flamethrower of the Hulk is a nightmare. It has crazy range for a flamethrower and can practically snipe you with it. But on top of that, the flames can insta-kill you. I can't tell you how many times the Scorcher Hulk has snuck up behind me and ended me before I knew what was happening. Flames are not supposed to one-shot kill you in this game, but this continues to be the case with this unit. There is no opportunity to jump and get away because you're dead before you even know you're on fire. They are very hard to destroy too, unless you can get behind them. Killing them from the front takes a lot of precision, and it would help if you could get a little closer, but that's not going to happen with the Scorcher Hulk. This is one that could change a lot with a necessary patch. Before I get to number 1, I have a couple of honorable mentions. The first is the Factory Strider. The Factory Strider didn't make the list for a couple reasons. One, I don't really consider it that annoying as it is just kinda terrifying. It's extremely hard to kill, but it's also a fairly new unit that I'm still trying to get a hang of, so the jury's still kinda out for me on how annoying this unit is. It also doesn't spawn very often, so it's hard to get super annoying if I barely ever see you, although those interactions have definitely been increasing lately, so we'll see if it makes it on this list if I do another one in the future. Also, because Sony insists, I have added any automaton that shoots up a flare. There are multiple units that can do this, and I have to admit, it is very depressing to see a flare go up in the sky and know that pain is coming. So it's worthy of a mention. And at number 1, it is the Stalker. Like other units on this list, the Stalker doesn't spawn on every Terminid planet, but when it does, it's a freaking menace. Stalkers are literally the epitome of an annoying unit. They're cloaked, so they are harder to see coming. They're very fast, so they are really hard to get away from. Their attacks send you ragdolling across the map, and unlike every other unit in the game, they run away when the battle doesn't favor them. In running away, they can be very hard to kill, especially if other units require your attention, and then you forget about the Stalkers, and boom, they show up and kill you again. The only nice thing about Stalkers is that you can take out their nests and delete them from the map, but if you think they aren't that annoying, you haven't gone up against 10 of them at the same time. Being killed by a Stalker feels so much more upsetting than any other unit in my opinion. It's not epic, it's not funny, it's not even depressing, it's just infuriating. I hate these things. May they forever rest in pieces. Alright, so there's my list. Like I said, I still like most of these units, and although some of them could use some work, they don't all need to change. They can just be extremely annoying. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you did, please consider smashing the like button to help us out a bit. Feel free to disagree with me in the comments down below, and let me know your least favorite and most annoying enemy down there as well. If you haven't already, please go ahead and subscribe and hit the bell for notifications, so you can always see a new Helldivers 2 video when it comes out, and we will see you the next time around. So goodbye for now.